Welcome back. My name is Charles Hallman,
I'm Dr. Mitchell-Palmer-McDonald.
and welcome to Blacklight on Sports. Tonight we have in our guest chair the assistant coach at St. Thomas, or University of St. Thomas, the second Division One school in Minnesota, and Kenneth Lowe. How are you tonight?
I'm great. I'm great. Appreciate you guys having me here.
We appreciate you being with us. First of all, congratulations on a great season. I mean, you know, even though you couldn't go to the tournament
Mhm.
because of you're moving up to Division One. But I mean, good, you was that close to winning the division, winning the conference, and then
Yes.
a couple shots here and there, you had to put the conference in a check because you couldn't go, but they had to find somebody else to go.
Yeah.
But no, you had a great year. We enjoyed watching you play this year. I don't know how y'all scored so many points. I mean, y'all just. I mean, I blink and y'all up 20.
Yeah. No, we had a great group. They played together. They shared the ball. It was no selfish. It was nothing. Me. It was all we. So it's actually easy to coach when it's like that. When everybody's playing for the name on the front of the jersey instead of the name on the back.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely impressive that because the players knew you couldn't go anywhere. I mean, it didn't matter what you did, whether you finished first or whether you finished last. Your season was going to end, and that would be it. But to them to be so enthused and playing that hard and playing competitively, got to be a credit to you as a coach and to the coaching staff.
Yeah, no, Coach Tower, he does a great job of leading everybody, um, from the assistants to the players, and we follow his lead. And one thing I would say, we have a bunch of guys that they are competitors. They want to compete no matter what. We actually play a lot. Every day we scrimmage. A lot of teams don't play a lot, but we do. So our guys love competing, and I think that's a big part of it. Is us kind of making practice a little more fun than just doing drills and box out drills and step sliding drills and all these drills. Our guys actually get a chance to compete and play. So, that was never a problem for us.
Well, share with the audience your resume. You have a great background that people need to know about.
Oh man, I've been lucky. I've been lucky in all my stops. I was a starting two guard at Purdue for 3 years, from '99 to '04. I was lucky enough. I had an up and down career at Purdue, from where we were 3 points from going to the Final Four, and then in other years we finished last. So I've seen it all in college basketball as far as being a player, as far as being on top and being at the bottom. So, but luckily I had good people around me. I had a great coaching staff. So after Purdue, I played overseas for 10 years, and during that time, I knew I wanted to coach, so I would reach out to coaches that I knew and would send them emails and phone calls while I'm in Europe. And Coach Painter, he told me that once I was done, he'll create a spot for me,
Mm.
which was kind of awesome because I didn't play for Coach Painter. When
Mm-hmm.
I when I was coming out, when I was done with school, he was coming into Purdue, so he didn't know me at all. He just knew me from coming around and playing open gyms with the guys. So I was fortunate enough for him to create a position for me, to be a video coordinator at Purdue. Then after 4 years of that, we were lucky. We won a Big Ten one year, so I was able to get a ring as a coach, not as a player. So it was kind of cool. And one thing I would say, it's a true family from the standpoint that once all the players got their piece of the net, the coaching staff, because I didn't get one as a player, they made sure I was the first one after the players to get my piece. So,
Okay.
that's
That's pretty
something
cool.
little. Yeah, that's something little that for me that goes a long way. Those little things, and I would never forget that. So, after my 4 years at Purdue, one of the assistant coaches, Jack Owens, got a head coaching job in Miami, Ohio, and I was fortunate enough that he brought me with. So I was under his tutelage for 5 years, and unfortunately, he got let go. And I'm not staying. I love Coach Owens, and once he got let go, I didn't try to interview to stay there,
Mhm.
even though a lot of people wanted me to. But I love that man, so he done a lot for me and my family. So there's no way I could be there. And after that, I ended up at St. Thomas. It was very weird because one of the guys I worked with, Jeff Rudder, he knew Mike Maker,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a guy, Coach G. He left and went to Northern Iowa, so St. Thomas had a position open, and um, So Jeff called Mike and they talked, and Jeff told him about me. I got on the phone with Maker, with Cam Rundles, and JT. Coach Sauer was on vacation, so I tried to get in touch with him, but he was in Disneyland with his family, so he was a no go for a week. So I just kind of tried to build a relationship with those two. Talked with Coach Tower, and he flew me out here, and we spent the day together, and he got to know me, and he offered me the job before I left. So it was a great situation that I'm very thankful for.
Man, now how did you end up at Purdue? Where'd you end up? How did that happen? And where'd you go to high school?
I'm from Gary, Indiana,
Okay, okay.
and I grew up liking Purdue, but I didn't grow up wanting to go to Purdue like a lot of people. So Indiana is basically split. So if you're from Indianapolis on up north,
Oh,
you
yeah,
want to go to Purdue, and
yeah.
if you're Indianapolis South, you like IU. And I like both because I watched both on TV. So I ended up there. Long story short, is because Coach Katie was honest in his home visit.
Okay.
So he told me, and I don't think you can do this nowadays. So on my home visit, he sat in my living room and told me to my face that as a freshman, I would play probably 5 to 10 minutes a game.
Hmm.
And I didn't like that at all. I wasn't happy. I didn't want to hear that. So we finished the conversation, and when he left, my mom said that's the most honest man that came through here.
Mm,
So, and my mom knows nothing about basketball, but she knows people.
mm,
And she said for him to tell you that you're basically not gonna play,
Mm-hmm.
that's somebody I want my baby with.
Mm-hmm.
So it was between Purdue and Michigan, and Purdue was a much better situation for me, even though I did like Michigan a lot more.
okay, so you, like you said, you like Michigan a lot more. And I mean, you can look back now because you're older, but yeah,
Uh-huh.
but as a 17, 18-year-old, it was Michigan, and you didn't want to hear any of that. I'm you only gonna play 5 or 10 minutes. Like, what?
Oh, absolutely not, especially when Michigan was trying to bring in a Fab Five.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it was
yeah.
kind of the second renders of the 5-5, and
Okay.
actually would have been teammates with Jamal Crawford.
Yes, yes, yes.
So
Okay.
they telling us they want to bring in 5 freshmen to start, and it's Michigan, and everybody remembered it, the 5-5. So that's obviously appealing that they want to bring you in to play right away.
Mm,
But
mm,
at the end of the day, I did make the best decision for me. The Purdue family is A1, and I know for sure that because I did handle myself the right way while I was in school and who I am as a person, that I would be taken care of for life. If I quit coaching right now, I would think that I would be able to submit my resume to a Purdue alum, and I'll be good. So for me, now looking back, and definitely I learned to kind of help advise young men better because we all look at the flashiness, the
yeah, when
certain
you're young,
skills.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. You don't. You think about all of that.
Yep.
Did you play the All-Star game
We
in
had a
Indiana?
we had an Indiana.
Yeah,
Yep.
the Indiana All-Star.
Yep.
Okay.
And then back then we actually had like a Midwest deal to where it was Indiana, Illinois, and
Oh,
Michigan,
oh,
and that was another type of all-star deal.
no, yeah. Because I know it used to be sometimes Indiana and Kentucky,
Yes.
and one year they played us. They played in Minnesota.
Really.
Yeah, they had who was uh, Mr. Basketball was Jim Master, and then Sean Teague was like one of the big stars there at that time. But they came here.
Wow.
They came here and played the Minnesota All Stars, and I think we only had one McDonald All. We had Jim Peterson,
Hmm.
and he was a McDonald All American. But yeah, we couldn't believe it. We all went there,
Right.
but we couldn't believe it. It was 1980,
Okay.
but we were like, Indiana's coming. We're Minnesota. Indiana's coming here. You know.
Yeah.
Now, Coach, you talked about that Coach Katie was very honest with you in your home visit. What little things did you learn from him that you was able to apply to you as a coach today?
Honesty. Honesty. That man, he was brutally honest, and it may hurt your feelings, but it was the truth.
Yeah.
And I never want to steer a player the wrong way. I want to always be honest with them. That way they could never, they could never look back and say, "Man, you didn't do right by me."
Mm,
So I may not be perfect in my coaching, in my teaching of the game, but I'm always going to be honest with my guys. And I think it actually helped me gain their respect. I have, good relationships with players that I coach, and I think it's because I am honest. But they also know that I care about them and that I'll do almost anything for them. So, but just being honest with them and just not, selling them a dream.
I've been on camp. I've been on the Purdue campus one time. I was supposed to be there another time. We got snowed out. Couldn't get there. That was 98, 99, something like that. We was going. I went there on New Year's Eve. They were supposed to play on New Year's Day.
Mhm.
I got to the hotel on New Year's Eve. Woke up the next morning, 50 feet of snow, and they took us off the highway on Highway 65, and we had to go. So I was able to get the last hotel room right on night. They closed. They shut things down. Okay, so they was going to try to play Sunday, and because the Gophers barely got there, they were going to try to play Sunday, and then they wouldn't open the road. They didn't open the roads till Monday, so they never played. They had to reschedule that, so I never got to have it. When they finally opened the roads, I got the heck out of
Right.
They got back in because I missed a day at work.
Yep.
I came out there for the weekend. I was supposed to be at school on Monday. Well, Monday I couldn't get there because I'm still stuck in West Lafayette. But I never got to but I did finally get to the campus later, years later. But I went there for a volleyball game, so I never got a chance to get there. So, but like I was saying, Coach Katie always came across, very, very energetic. He would never lost the words. And I thought he was a part of a era of coaches who had personality. They weren't going. I don't care what question you asked them, they had something to say, and it wasn't. Sometimes you could be blunt about it, but they
Right.
had something to say. And you don't see those kind of. Coaches don't have that. Not as many coaches like that today. Uh, do you keep up with Coach Katie? Yeah.
I do. He's back in West Lafayette. I asked most of the time the guys on Purdue staff about how they're doing because they see him regularly.
Mhm.
So I seen him. Was it last year? 2 years ago when the Big Ten tournament was here.
Mhm.
He was in his crowd, so and I went up behind him and hugged him, and I kind of shook. He shook a little bit because it kind of started him a little bit, and it was good to see him and just talk to him a few minutes. And he was so into the game, he didn't want to talk to me. He was so into the game, he half talking to me. So I was like, I'll just go to the hotel later on that day and have a conversation with him. But he wasn't trying to hear anything I was saying. I was like, all right, coach, I love you. He told me he loved me and just walked away. That man that does not change. And Purdue was actually playing well. It wasn't like they were losing or anything. But he was his mind focus was on that game.
Now, St. Thomas, as we introduced, is now the second Division I school in Minnesota. It's always been the University of Minnesota. Then St. Thomas was in the MIAC and was successful there. And then they made that jump from Division III to Division I. You came in just as they made that close to that finish that transition. In fact, they changed the rules, so now you can go to tournament next year because it's supposed to be an 8-year wait, I think something like that, and that's got to be long. But even in that case, you have been competitive. You have built the program. Coach Towers built a program there that could be competitive. But in your eyes, do you see you're being able to attract local talent, be able to attract, making people understand if they don't go to the University of Minnesota, they can go to St. Thomas.
I hope so. The thing is, we want local guys. Like, if Coach Tower could do it, he would do all Minnesota kids. If he could get 13 Minnesota kids, we want local guys, and unfortunately, they they've been they've seen St. Thomas in a Division III way, and I think now it's the wheels are starting to turn to where they're looking at us now as a Division I school. So, we actually just signed. We haven't signed yet, but we got two commits, two local commits, which is awesome. We're very excited about those two young men, and it could be a third for next year. But for us to get two local kids, they were good players who we actually offered before they went other places, kind of showed that they seen the vision. So I will hope that local kids will want to come, because I just think it was a perception of St. Thomas, and it's not what people think. Even the style of play, like people think, we want ball players. We don't just want guys that can shoot threes. We want guys that can get in the lane, dunk on you, and pass and make plays. So I think now people watching us, they can see more of what Coach Taro envisions of the program.
And you got the new arena.
Oh yeah,
That's got to be, man. That's got to be exciting. Just that you'll be able to christen that arena in the coming months.
Yeah, that could be a difference too, because I remember, when we would go to games, me and Charles, we come to games to cover, and then sometimes we go, it still has that. In the beginning, we're like, it still has that Division 3 feel. It still has that Division 3 feel. And when you get the different facilities, because that's what these young people look at. They look at what type of gym you're going to be playing in, what type of weight room you have. Just
absolutely.
they look at all of that now, rather than they got a good engineering program, but hey, what am I going to be practicing in?
Right. Yeah.
Hey, what's going on? So, but I was just saying that me and Charles have had those conversations where still has, it doesn't now, but it
Yeah.
did. At the beginning we were going, man, it still has that feel.
Absolutely. And I understand it. I felt it when I first got here.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm,
so but now it just seemed different. Like last year, the way our guys played, the way we played, how fast we played, the
mhm.
way we were tough on defense, it just feels different. So, with the new arena, we actually did a walkthrough Monday.
Wow.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
So it's up that much, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
good guy. I didn't even know.
Because last time I looked, they still had the hole in the ground.
Yeah.
Now it's up. It's halfway frame.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
yeah, it should be open in mid-September.
It's on schedule. Huh?
Yes.
Can I
It's a
tell?
little behind because of and I somewhat understand, but I don't, with the people around it, they
Oh
kind of
yeah.
stopped the construction a
Oh,
few times.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
I was kind of my sons went to De La Salle High School, where Cameron went to. In
Mm.
fact, they played with Cameron, and they had the same issue when they built the
The
football
football
stadium.
stadium.
People who didn't want that, and I said, well, when you moved there, the school was there.
Right.
And the school is 100 years old. Isn't it like it just popped out of nowhere? The same thing about St.Thomas. I mean, it's been there forever. So now y'all upset over you moved there.
Yeah.
So either you accept it or you move somewhere else. That's always uh, hilarious for me. But I was impressed. I like your conference. I mean, your conference seems to have. First of all, it just has. Look like every team is competitive. It don't seem like okay, well, you got two or three, and everybody else is somewhere in the middle or in the bottom. It's very competitive, and not only that, I think y'all might have. I know you got more black coaches in the summit than the Big Ten does. Y'all just leading the diversity in terms of just that's got to be great to see when you look at the team that you're playing against and you see people that look like you,
Absolutely.
and well, not just the players, but you see
Mhm.
fellow coaches look like you. That's got to be something that's exciting for you.
And me personally, I was having a conversation with one of my coworkers. I admire and almost look up to every black head coach that's coaching my sport.
Mhm.
Just from the standpoint, I know how hard it is to get to where they are. So I do admire those guys because it's hard. It's very
Mhm.
hard, and sometimes we only get one opportunity,
Yeah.
and it might not even be a good one, but it's the one we feel like we may not get no more, so we got to take
You
it.
take it anyway.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
it sucks to see people take certain jobs that, in hindsight, they shouldn't, but they feel like that they may not get another chance.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I've always like even working for Coach Owens, man, he was it was great to work for him, and I was so proud of him to be able to get that opportunity because I know how hard he worked for it.
Mhm.
I know what type of person he is, and that's why I was so mad that they let him go because I know him. Like I know he works like no other.
Mhm.
He loves his guys to a fault, and some people may hear that and it may sound weird to him, but you can love these kids to a fault.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Mhm.
Sometimes they don't want to change their habits and their behavior.
Yes.
Coach Owen's different. Like he would almost lose his job keeping kids and take care of kids than getting rid of them.
Gotcha.
Kids that look like him. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm always gonna have the utmost respect for him because I know that about him and a lot of people don't.
Mhm.
how have you dealt with the changing everyday nature of college sports? I mean, now almost like they're doing scoreboards every day of who left, who ain't left, who came back, who ain't coming back, and then on the side it's like a split screen. On the other side, but this is what they're getting, those who left. How are
But
y'all?
you can't even
How are y'all dealing with
you
that?
can't even write a me and Charles were talking about you can't even write a preview section
Right.
anymore because or you can't go like this, boy, this person's gonna be good for them next year because the next day you wake up in the paper, they're in the portal.
Absolutely. I personally, I don't love it. I accept it because you have to. It's the way it is now. But
Oh yeah.
I don't love it and for me, I was actually having a conversation with a guy who's on the Big Ten Network, who I coached, and we were just talking, and I told him that, and I'm talking we were talking about it, I was speaking from me, not all coaches, and he knows the reason why I got in the game is because a young man like him, like I want to help these young men grow to be men, and then basketball players.
Yes.
Um, but like now it's very transactional. And so, when I see some of these kids making some of these decisions, it hurts me as a parent because I know they're not thinking about 10 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
They're thinking quick fix right now, quick couple dollars.
Yes.
And for me, it's always been about the long haul. I don't want to be 30 years old and struggling for a job. Now, this alumni network that was great, they love me. They're done with me because I turned my back
Because
on
you
them for
left. Yes.
20, 30,000.
Yes.
I get it. When it's millions, you got to do what you got to do. When you can make literally $1 million to $2 million, I somewhat understand that. But when you're making 30, $40,000 decisions, I don't understand that because I know how hard it is once you're done playing basketball. Even if you play professionally, once you're done, and now you got to go in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're not prepared. Now some of these guys not even going to graduate because the credit's not going to transfer
Right.
from different schools.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So from a father perspective, from a coach perspective, from a perspective of a person who really cares about these young men, some of the decisions does hurt me. Even if the one they don't even like, I may not know them personally, but just to see it and kind of know what's going on, it's like, man, that wasn't smart.
Is there also too much meddling? And what I mean by that, I was reading this article, I want to say today, where this quarterback lost money because his father wanted 800,000, and he left the school, think he's gonna get that. Well, he didn't get that, and all the schools he's been looking at saying we don't want you because we already got starting quarterbacks,
So,
and
so
so
his dad jumped in.
his dad jumped in. So now he basically priced out. He can't go back to the old school because if he does, he got to sit out a year because he transferred out. And now he's sitting around, and because his father
Yeah.
argued for this amount of money. So I mean, so basically, it's I mean, it's got to be crazy that you have parents or people acting like pseudo agents,
Yeah.
getting whatever they can get, and the kid is just sitting there waiting, hoping that they,
So
hopefully get
so
them.
those visits become a little bit different.
Yeah, but even the conversations, like, think about this: it's kids that commit. They go in the portal one day, they commit the next day.
Mm-hmm.
How?
Mm-hmm.
Think about the recruiting process. Sometimes lasts 3 years. It literally takes some kids 2 to 3 years sometimes to pick a school. But you go in the portal and the next day you're committed to a school. Like it,
Oh yeah.
it sucks. And then I grew up. We didn't have much. Like I'm from Gary. I grew up in the hood.
Mm-hmm.
I had two pair of pants. Like I didn't have much, but my mom would never force me or tell me to make a decision that I didn't really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
To benefit the family.
Yeah.
And I get it. Some of those situations you gotta take care of your family. I get it, but a lot of those situations are not like that. I mean, it's kids with basketball cribs and they with basketball courts in their crib that they grew up in. They don't have to really make decisions about money right now.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that should be the whole factor, but it's just it's a tough situation and it's tricky because you're always gonna have your parents back and do what they say. And I just think a lot of these parents they're not being parents no more, they're being sports parents.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at keeping up with the Jones. That's a big part of it too. Like looking at such and such I play AAU with, oh, he just got this at that school. Oh, my son is better than him. Why we can't get half that or get close to that? So it's just the game is just in a bad place right now because there's a lot of people that's making money off these kids, and these kids don't have no idea that a lot of these people are pushing you to do stuff because the trend. A lot of these guys they want to get paid. They want some of that money, that NIL money that you're getting. So the kids are just in a tough spot because they're young. They don't know much. They haven't experienced life.
Yeah.
So I think the people around them needs to be better, in my opinion.
There's definitely some horror stories out there. I think there's a lawsuit still active. A football player signed and took the money up front, but he didn't know he signed his life basically. That if he got to the NFL, which he did, that the group he signed with that gave him the upfront money, he got a basically they get like 40% of everything he gets forever. And the lawsuit, I haven't heard updates on it, but they sue him because against Florida, he signed when he was 19, and you're not supposed to sign anything like that until you're 21.
Oh,
So they say, basically the group that's, suing, being sued, y'all broke the law.
right.
But just the fact that he signed, yeah, he got the money up front, but then they said there was something he had to get 4 Super Bowl tickets.
Yeah.
Wherever they go, they had to get 4 Super Bowl tickets. They couldn't be up there. They had to be right here. And then there was other stuff he had to give off his contract because he never signed. He never read all the little clauses that said, we got you for the next 30 years.
Yes.
Basically, that's hard. It's almost like you really should have. I mean, when I bought a house, I had to get a lawyer to help me figure that stuff out.
But that just shows you like a lot of people are taking advantage of these kids. You think I played in Europe, so in Europe, the agents get 10%. In NBA, I think it's 3 or 4. The percentages that some of these agents are getting now, astronomical. I mean, it is crazy. It's 20, 15, 20, 30% of the money that these kids are getting. Like that is a lot of money.
Really?
So these kids really aren't getting what they think, and then they don't think about it's being taxed half. Half of it is basically going to taxes. So, it just sucks to see young people or anybody, doesn't matter if you're young or old, but especially young people, kind of get taken advantage of. But I will say NIL's probably saved some families. It saves, kept some people bill water on, electricity on, probably helped some families get out of foreclosures, those type of things. So I'm pretty sure it's benefited people as well.
Who were some of the people that influenced you as you were coming up and you were playing during the ranks? Who were some of your role models that you looked up to?
It's my mom. My mom, Michael Jordan as a basketball player, but it was my mom, man. She was just a single black mom that I mean, she made me feel like $1,000,000 even if we didn't have any money. Like just the way she raised me. The older I got, now that I have a daughter, you can't script it any better. Like it was just perfect, the way the discipline me, the conversations that we had, the freedom she gave me. When I took advantage of the freedom, how she, you know, took all my privileges away. Yeah. So, my mom was just always been my idol because she was just strong. She never really cried when things happened in front of me. She might have broke down when I left, but she was just the best. She still is. Like God bless her. So I lost my sister about 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
Yeah, and thank you. And my mom, she called me and she's strong. I'm like, you just lost your daughter, and you're like worrying about if I'm okay. Like I'm like, Ma, you just still got it. Just things like that. Is just, she's just been an important person in my life. Kept me straight too. Like she kept me straight. Kept me straight. Wasn't no messing around in class. Like she didn't care about sports. She cared from the standpoint that she knew that I love it, but I could have been the worst player on the team. For her, it did not matter. But like she told Coach Katie, don't ever call me unless he's messing up in school. We not talking sports. If he's messing up in school or he's been like messing up off the court doing things where he shouldn't be, then we can talk. Other than that, we don't have nothing to talk about. Yeah, Coach Katie loved it.
Coach Kenny loved that. Yeah, I'm about to say that's a coach's dream to hear that kind of conversation.
Absolutely.
And where'd you get your degree in?
Organ is basically management.
Okay.
It was a program out of the Granite Business School at Purdue. So I wanted to pick a degree that had a high job placement rate, and at the time it had like a 98% job placement rate. So yeah,
And how old is your daughter?
she's 9.
Okay.
She's 9.
And you ain't got no gray hair yet?
I do. It's died. It's died. It's died. It's real gray right here.
I just
And it's coaching, man. I was young when I first started, but the more years you get in, it's gone.
Yeah.
Even the hair is gonna be probably 2 more years. It's gonna be over.
Now, how's it? You know, you like I said, I've known Cameron since he was high schooler because he played with my 2 sons. How is he as a coach?
Cam has the potential to be one of the best coaches in the country, and especially in the Midwest, because he has a good way about him of talking to people. Like he can talk to people, and he knows basketball, but he's one of them guys that he can talk to you if you come from nothing. He can talk to you if you come from millions. He just has a way about him to where he can talk to people, and he does know basketball. I think if he really really wants to, he can be a bad man. Like I told Coach Tower this, I told Makes this before. I never told him, but I told the 2 people that he kind of look up to, that he's gonna be one of the best, in my opinion, just because he just got a good way about him. And he does a good job. He keeps himself in shape to where if he needs to get out there with the guys, he can. And he's smart. He's very smart. He's intellectual and he knows the game, but he just got a good way about him to where he makes people feel good. Now he can talk to some parents and they're like, "Oh my God, he's so personable," and so he's gonna be, the longer he's coaching, the better he's gonna be.
Now he played overseas too, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
we almost played against each other. I was 1 year removed to where our teams played each other, but I was done.
okay.
So if I would have played one more year, I would have smacked up on him a little bit.
That's interesting. That's interesting. You as a staff, I know this is a busy time because you don't get a whole. There's not too many dead time. I know there's some prescribed time that you have to personally take off. But I mean, but actually, your job is almost a 24-hour, 7 days a week, all year kind of job.
Absolutely, and with the transfer portal, it's worse. I was telling Coach Tower just the other day. I said, "Coach, I'm mentally tired, and we haven't had a break. I don't even remember. It was maybe August last time we had a break, because right after the season, we had 2 guys going to the portal, and then a week later we had another guy going to the portal. So now we gotta figure out 3 spots. So now it's normally you get a little time after the season to things relax. You can do workouts. It's a good feeling. You're trying to get your guys better. Now we got to figure out our roster. So up until we get 13 scholarship players, there's no break. But it's no time to, can't complain about it, because I could be doing something else. If I don't like it, I could go get another job. But I love coaching. I just don't like the way the way it is right now. And it's gonna get better in time, but it's just the game is in a bad place, in my opinion.
I think you just, as it keeps on going, and not gonna say, well, maybe like you get used to it and that's the system. But right now, you have some of us who knew what it was like
Right.
to just get a scholarship, get everything paid for, and then just come and play ball. And then but you're coaching people who are growing into this, or this is gonna be the norm for them. So that it's kind of like, it's almost like that digital divide that we have sometimes
Right.
with the younger generation.
Yes. Yes.
So and I think what, like you said, and there, a friend of mine was just telling me, we were just talking about all the different older coaches that are leaving.
Yeah.
That are just like all of a sudden retiring, and I mean, mid season, and like they're just, one day they're waking up and they're like, I'm done.
Yeah.
All these legendary coaches.
The part for me that I don't like, when people give the narrative that like they're basically saying I'm the same as an 18-year-old kid. You know, coaches can leave, so why can't players leave?
Mm-hmm.
This is my real job. This is not you guys' real job. You
Mm-hmm.
guys, some of you guys don't make good grades. Like some of you guys may be late. Like you can't do that in the work life, you know, in real life. So, you know, we're not the same. We don't make the same decisions as kids. So that bothers me at times. And then it's funny, like coaches do turn down jobs. They always say, you know, kids can leave because coaches always leave, but they have no idea the amount of jobs that coaches turn down because they like where they're at and they're happy. So I just don't like the comparison that nowadays people are trying to say that college coaches and student athletes are the same. I respectfully disagree.
Now, without disclosing any secrets, but how you feel St. Thomas will be next year? You know, you said you lost. You got to fill 3 spots.
Yeah.
You know, can you? You know, some people say, well, y'all did well this year because you had no pressure on you. You know, you didn't have to go anywhere. But now you got the new arena. People's expectations might be different, higher in some respects. What do you feel that you can be as competitive next year as you was this year?
Oh, absolutely. And for us, nothing's changed. You know, we don't feel more pressure. You feel as a coach nowadays, you feel pressure regardless because if you don't win, you get fired. It doesn't matter if you can go to tournament or not. So, you know, we don't feel no more added pressure. Like it's nice to know that we do have the luxury and opportunity to go to the tournament, but it's no pressure. As far as the trajectory that we've been going, can we keep it up? I think we can. I don't know if we're gonna win more than 24 games next year. You know, we're 24-10, and you know we could have been, you know, a couple of those losses could have been turned the other way around. So I don't know if we'll win 24 games, but we Coach Tower can coach. You know, he's a ball coach. You know, a lot of people can't say that they're like he's a ball coach. So, you know, a lot of people need all these big time, really good players to win games, and Coach Tower figures it out. You know, he has great relationship with his players, so we're going to be fine. And like I said, people are seeing the vision, and we did get 2 good commits from local kids, and you know, hopefully we can get one by the end of this week. And if we can get a commit from another kid, we'll be feeling good about ourselves. So I'm excited. I'm excited for next year because I'm a have not. You know, I didn't have much growing up, and I always felt like I had to fight for everything. So for us, people look at us like that. Look at St. Thomas like all these little dudes, and they're not very big and athletic. No, we gonna go and fight. We gonna go and compete. So, you know, this type of team it gets my juices going a little bit more because I know I got to work harder. Like I have to be better. So
And that aura of that Division 3 aura that Mitch and I was talking about, has it almost dissipated now? Or still lingering a little bit?
I hope so. I hope so. You know, for the person that Coach Tower is, I will hope that, you know, especially the local high school near you coaches would want to send their guys to a person like him. Like I'm not saying he's perfect or none of this, but I will vouch and say, and I'll put my hand on the Bible or whatever. He is a good person. Like he has a heart and he cares about his guys. So like, why wouldn't you want to send a student athlete to a person that's actually a good person? People don't say negative things about him. They're going to get a great education. If they get a St. Thomas degree, they're going to be set in the Twin Cities, and being a good basketball coach. So like, I will hope that, and I think it will. Like, we will get a lot more local players. Not saying if we don't, we're going to be mad because it is what it is. Like, you make your own decisions, but you know, of course, we do want more.
Now the new arena is going to be also hockey as well as
Yes.
basketball. So where you at the place you're at now, that will be your practice facility.
No, it's crazy. So the new arena, men's basketball will have their own practice facility. Women's basketball will have their own practice facility, and ice hockey will have their own practice facility. So like we're gonna have our own gym, so
Okay.
where our guys, it won't be no excuses. They can get in. You know, they ain't got to worry about regular students coming in and sharing the court. Like we will have, and it's only 12 schools in the country. So it's 12 schools in the country where men's and women have their own practice facility. So think about that. It's gonna be sweet.
That's big.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's good. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I've seen all the sketches and the plans up, man. I'm excited. We worrying about we're gonna have a good seat next year when we get in there.
It should be.
We had the best ones this year, but every time we talk, we go, ah man, when that new arena comes, and then what usually happens with us is things get started. We're usually the first ones there
Hmm.
when no one's around, and then all of a sudden you get big time
Yeah.
or you start winning, and then all of a sudden I'm sitting here like, no, wait a minute, last year I was sitting here and I'm like waving at the guys down there. What happened?
I hope it's not like that with this new
We
arena.
do. I mean, we're kind of joking, but we're wondering because
Right.
it has happened.
Yeah,
And we just laugh because the important thing with us is being there and being able to cover the people that we want to cover and give them the exposure we think they deserve. So
absolutely.
so me and him complain to each other, about it. We go, man, what are we doing? Sitting there, we're mumbling and all we all mad, and
All right.
at the same time we're still happy because we got a job to do, and then it's kind of a privilege to be able to do what we do. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
And that might be the feeling, man. Like we're not always going to have scholarships. So I hope a lot of these young men make the right decision
Mhm.
coming out of high school because they may not always be able to come back. And then I don't want us getting a black eye saying, "Oh, we're not going to take them." When we tried to take them at first, we don't have the scholarships now.
Mhm.
So I hope that don't start happening, but I know it's going to happen a little bit, just because it's a lot of good players in the state,
Mhm.
and especially in the Twin Cities. So, but we want them all. We'll take them all.
What high school did you go to?
Gary Westside. Yeah, I would have went to Gary Roosevelt where Glenn Robinson went,
Mm-hmm.
but my mom, we moved. It was smart for me, my mom, to kind of get me out my old neighborhood to get away. So it ended up working out very well, and I ended up going to Gary Westside,
Okay.
even though I was pissed.
Yeah.
I was mad. I wanted to be around my boys that I grew up with, but it was smart for me to get away.
Yeah.
You get a chance to go back home.
I do from time to time, but my mom actually moved down to Texas, so
Okay.
I don't have any family left in Gary.
Okay.
But I got, some friends that's still there. So I always, even with the recruiting, I go and show love to the high schools, even if I'm not recruiting any of the guys, just because that's the hometown.
Mm.
And I want them, I want to be in their gyms now. I don't want to wait till they got good players and then start coming around.
Mhm.
So, and they always want me to talk. So try to, help these young men and, just tell them it's a way out. It's a way out, and you can do it. You got to do things the right way, and you got to work. It ain't given. So
Now, Glenn Robinson, we know who Big Dog is. But what other players came out of Gary that people would know, recognize their names?
Kenny Lofton is from the area.
Okay.
Kenny Lofton, non-athlete Michael Jackson.
Okay.
Yeah. That's right, Kenny Lofton, the baseball player.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was good in basketball
he
too.
could hoop.
Because we, I coached a middle school team, and we won the championship. And this guy made a video, and at the beginning of the video, we're playing this music and all this, and this guy's dunking, and then the kids, my players are looking, and they're going, man, that's not Kenny Lofton, because he was famous then. Everybody knew who he was then, and it was him.
Yeah.
It was him, and they were like, man, we didn't know he could ball, and then I said, Indiana, man. I said, you guys don't know how Indiana is
Yeah.
about basketball, but yeah, Kenny Lofton, Winston Garland.
Winston Garland.
Okay.
Winston. He actually Winston was coaching my high school, and I'll never forget. Little Darius Garland was in the 5th grade. So, like I said, I always tried to go back and show love, and talk. And so Winston is the coach, and they were at practice, and for some reason, they were just sitting there on the sidelines, and they weren't doing anything. It was weird. I'm like, Coach, you want me to help out? Well, they ain't doing anything. But you see little Darius in the 5th grade working on his game.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Working on his game. I'm like, what? How old is he? And he's shooting like high school threes in the 5th grade. He's in there. So I'm in there probably 2 hours. He didn't put the basketball down. he is working on his game. He's shooting. He's in the 5th grade. I was like, he's gonna be good.
Yeah, we see that now. That's for sure.
Like, I'm so proud of him just because I know how hard it was, for him to leave Gary for a couple years and just for him to, not get in trouble, just he's trying to do things the right ways. It's like he's a bright spot for the city.
Yeah. Now, is Indiana, the reputation in Indiana is just a hotbed for basketball. That's just, if Kentucky is the blue blood in terms of Kentucky Derby, but they talking about basketball, it's always Indiana. Is that true?
Absolutely. My high school, my high school is more people can fit in my high school gym than in our new arena.
Ooh.
And we used to pack it out. We used to pack it out. And so, like, East Chicago can hold 8,000. I think Indiana, out of the top 25, we got like 18 of the top 25 largest high school gyms in the country.
Wow.
And they fill them up.
Yeah. And it's good. It's not as great in my area as it used to be because a lot of kids are leaving out of Gary. But when I was in high school and we averaged probably 5,000. Average. That means we could be playing a bad team and that's how many people's there. But if it's a good team, it's people outside. It's probably 7,000-8,000 people in there. People on top of people standing up. You can't even sit down. It's an atmosphere. Yeah, I feel bad because a couple of I've been coaching in games where it's not a lot of people there, and I'm just thinking, man, in high school, man, we had 5,000 every day. So sometimes I feel bad for these young men to not experience that.
Well, we appreciate you being with us. We always give our guests an opportunity to share some pearls of wisdom to our audience. Anything you wish that they would like to walk away with after watching us today?
Yeah, my biggest thing, care about others. Try to be the best person you can be. You're not going to be perfect, but think about others. It's just a lot of people just think about themselves and got tunnel vision, but I always try my best to think about others. It could be a parking spot and me in another car, just a close parking spot, going into Target, and I'll let the other car get it. Things like that, or holding the door for people. Even if it does not have necessarily be a woman, just a guy behind me's coming in the store, just holding the door, just try to think about others and be a good person, because I just think it's hard out here nowadays. It's just a lot of bad people and bad things is going on. So just try to be the best person you can be, and try to think about others, because I don't deal well personally with selfish people or selfish acts and stuff. And I do understand you got to take care of yourself, but I think if we cared about other people more and tried to be the best version of us and good people, then the world would be a better place.
Thank you. Well, I really appreciate your hospitality to me when I come over and watch practices. I've known Cameron for years. I know Johnny for a while. Has always been gracious when I come over there and just sit and watch. I love watching practices because I think you learn more from watching practices than you do watching games. Because now you can have a way to figure out, okay, this is why they're doing this, because this is what they did yesterday, or this is what they did when I was there. So I always appreciate that, because a lot of coaches don't let you, when they say you're a media, they ain't open the door for you. They just, because they think you're going, because you got, social media is a double-edged sword. You got journalists who don't understand that some things you just don't talk about. You watch it, you learn from it, but they want to sit there and they might not do it right then. They go outside and they tweet it out. Okay, well, you lost that kind of connection that you can build with the coach, because now they seeing that stuff out there,
right?
And they don't want you in there talking about listening on that stuff. But we were talking about today. There's a lot of unfortunately, a lot of young journalists, like young players, who don't understand that. Don't understand how to build relationships, and there's some things you just not gonna talk about because it's not necessary to talk about, and because you lose relationships that way. But they all want to make that scoop. They want to get that news out there first. And if they don't get out there, now they want to tell you, I was the one to put it out there first. Okay, they want, so it's kind of crazy. But Coach, we really appreciate you joining us today. please don't let this be the last time.
Absolutely not. No, I
Yeah,
appreciate you guys. This is awesome, and I'm down anytime, anytime. And I wanna get out in the community more and out in Minnesota more than I have been because now I'm comfortable. In this profession, I didn't know I was gonna be here more than a year.
Right.
Once I came up here, but now me and Coach Tyra relationship has grown, and we got a really great understanding of each other, and I love his vision and even more who he is as a person. At this age, I'm not working for everybody. I just can't. I can't work. I don't want to work for a guy that's gonna be calling the office phone at 10 o'clock at night to see if I'm there. Like you hired me, I'm gonna give you my all, but why are you checking up on me? Those type of things. So like, for me, being here, being in the Twin Cities and work for Coach Tower, I'm good. I'm good.
Well, you're definitely in a great program. I mean, I can't wait to get in that arena. Now, I just hope y'all take cash money on the concessions. 'Cause, everywhere else,
You would bring that up.
everywhere else you gotta use a card. You can't.
You would bring that
I,
up.
want- I got cash in my pocket. I want to be able to buy the hot dog. Well, again, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. My name is Charles Hallman.
I'm Dr. MitchellPalmerMcDonald.
This is Kenneth Lowe, and you're watching Blacklight on Sports. And we definitely like you to continue to read us in the newspapers and continue to join us as we continue to talk to people for all walks of life in our community and sharing light on them and their accomplishments. Thank you for joining us. We see you again.